it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a little chill, chatty discussion video and I'm gonna be sharing with you guys the full story of how I got my book deal. If you missed my announcement video, I will link that down below. That's basically just where I share the news that I got a book deal. I am going to be a Scholastic author published in fall of 2022 with my debut middle grade novel, The Glass Witch, which is pitched as Dumpling meets Hocus Pocus, about a little chubby girl who has to join a pageant in order to break a curse and, you know, eradicate evil by midnight on Halloween before the spell becomes permanent. The beginning of my journey starts how all writers' journeys do, and that is I wrote books. I wrote quite a few books and I had one fail in the query trenches, and then I thought The Glass Witch was failing because I had queried her over a year and I was getting ready to retire her and just put her on the shelf and chalk her up to a good book, but just couldn't get an agent, you know? I decided to send out, you know, one final round, and my agent, Samantha Fabien at Root Literary, happened to fall in love with it. So there's a story there. Never give up, kids. I did document my entire query journey in 2 different vlogs. I kind of made it like a little documentary series, and I will link those below as well. But let me know if you're interested in having like a sit-down chatty discussion about how I got my agent, the same way I'm kind of doing this video right now. I officially became Samantha's client on January 26th of 2021, this year, and we knew we were gonna do a small round of edits, mainly that were going to be line edits and clarification edits before we went on submission, and we did those, or I did those, in about a week, and I sent them back to Samantha and she was really happy with them, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna get with my team, figure out a sub list, and we're gonna go on sub next week. And it was all very surreal because it still hadn't clicked that I got an agent, let alone that I was going on submission so soon. So I feel like I was just kind of unmoored and completely reeling at this point. I was just like, okay, whatever's happening is happening. But like really I was living in a state of like constant code red. If you weren't aware what submission is, it's basically when you have an agent and you're trying to be traditionally published, and your agent pitches your book to different publishing houses. They send the pitch, or they sometimes get on a phone call with an editor at a specific house, and it's kind of like your query letter, and they just pitch the book, and if the editor is interested, then they will ask to read the full book, and then the hope is that they would buy it. One of the coolest things ended up being that when I got to announce that I got my agent, right, I announced on Twitter and Instagram, and Samantha retweeted my announcement, you know, saying like, hey, I'm with Root Literary now, I'm super excited. Well, Samantha retweeted that, and of course she's in the industry, so she has a lot of people in the industry following her and seeing that, and she actually had three different editors at different publishing houses reach out to her, DM her, and be like, hey, this sounds amazing, I need to be in your first round of submissions. I remember she told me that and I was kind of like absolutely reeling, because when she told me what houses they were from, I was just like, Jesus, take the wheel. Those are like the publishers of some of my favorite books ever. Also, spoiler alert, one of those editors that jumped in her DMs wanting the book actually ended up being the editor we ended up going with. So super cool, it all came full circle. So 4 days before going on submission, Samantha sent me the pitch letter that she was going to be sending editors and a list of all of the editors we were going to have in her first round. I'll actually pop up the pitch letter because I'm sure some of you may have never seen what it looks like when an agent essentially queries publishing houses. It was actually really cool because Samantha pretty much used my exact query letter to her. She just changed, like, I think one sentence or something was removed. So for our first round, we were originally going to go out with 18 publishers, and then on further reflection, the day of, Samantha decided to push one of those to a second round if we needed a second round. So we ended up actually like finally going out with 17 publishers. 14 of those were Big 5 publishers. Some examples of Big 5, I wrote them down. Hachette, Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins, Penguin, and Macmillan. And the rest were what you would consider major publishers. I feel like I'm obnoxiously plugging all of my old videos in this video, but honestly, like, I talk about this so much more in my like I'm officially on submission vlog. I will also link down below. It's just like if you want more information about this, I go into greater detail in those videos. Now, all agents are going to be different, and all like writers on submission are going to be different. Depending on like how you feel like you want to handle news, and a lot of times you can tell your agent if you just want to hear good news, if you don't want to be told about rejections at all, or how often you want to be told about rejections and stuff. Me and Samantha decided on that she would update me once a week. She would also be nudging all editors once a week to see, like, in response to her pitch, like if she hasn't heard from you yet, she's gonna nudge you once a week just to be like, hey, have you read the book yet? How's it going? If we were to have any editors request the full manuscript, then she would be nudging them once a month to see like where their progress was. And obviously if we got any good news like an offer, she would be letting me know immediately. So we ended up going on submission on February 23rd, 2021. And I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling confident and maybe a little nervous in some ways, but at the same time, like, it still hadn't even clicked in that I had an agent, let alone that I was on submission. So I don't feel like I like went into full like anxiety panic mode about it, just because nothing was real. Like, it just felt like a derealization episode, you know? I was honestly doing quite okay. I was working on my second middle grade at the time and just felt good overall. 3 days went by and I hadn't heard anything. And then on February 26th, Samantha emailed me and she was like, hey, just a quick little update. Everyone but 2 of the 17 editors have requested the full manuscript and they're reading it right now. And I was like, it was just a little wild. And at that point we had no rejections. Everyone who had responded with wanting to read the full book. And I was just like, I'm just over here living my life in ignorance while my fate is in the hands of these 15 people. I just got so excited. I'm like spilling my coffee everywhere. I honestly didn't know how quickly, like, I didn't know that editors would be responding that quickly, even though I kind of hoped they would. I just figured that being on submission was the same as querying, where you had to wait like 6 to 12 weeks to wait on an agent to even respond to you. I didn't know that editors typically, not always, but editors typically respond a little bit faster. So the fact that I had 15 reading my book at once, it like hit me really, really hard when I got that email. And I remember that was the first time to me that it felt real to me. I was just going down the list of all of the imprints that were reading my book and just thinking about like all of the books that I loved and adored that made me who I am, that were published by these editors, like at these publishing houses. And it really hit me hard. And I remember I started crying in front of my husband and he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, there are editors reading my book. And he's like, I know. And I was like, no, you don't understand, like, it's real. And he's like, yeah, because it's been real to him since day one. It didn't get real to me until like I saw that these specific houses were reading my book. And then I was like, holy crap, like, I did it. Like, I freaking did it. That's when it hit. After that, it was kind of quiet for a while until March 8th. And that's when I got an email from Samantha that said we had a publisher that was interested in chatting with me on the phone. The editor basically said that she loved the book and that she had given it to other people in the publishing house to read it and they were loving it, and that they wanted to take the book to acquisitions. If you weren't aware, acquisitions is this meeting that publishing houses usually hold once a week where all of the editors come, you know, together in front of the board, all of the heads of the different departments of the publishing house, and are like, hey, I love this book, here's a pitch. This is what I think, you know, maybe we can do marketing wise. This is how much I think we're gonna make from it. This is how much I think we should pay them. And basically are pitching your book to this table of people saying, I love this, please buy it. And the people at the table have to decide if it is monetarily worth buying the book, like if they think that they can make money from it and like how much they're willing to give you and so forth. There are a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine whose book have made it that far and then it just dies at acquisitions. And it's actually quite a common thing, which is really, really sad. So I was super pumped to learn that my book was going to acquisitions, but I was trying to be, you know, realistic and like tame it back that a lot of people have books die at acquisitions. And so I didn't want to get too excited yet, but of course I was like ridiculously excited. Before I was going to go to acquisitions, publishing house number 1 wanted to chat with me about, you know, just like getting to know me. They actually wanted to do a face to face, which made me really nervous, but like I was down for it. So I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. And we talked, like just kind of chatted in general. And then we talked about this editor's vision for the book. They kind of gushed to me and she told me like what she liked about it, you know, and where she could kind of see it in the market. Let me know like what time they would be thinking about publishing it, you know, just all of like the nitty gritty stuff. And it was basically kind of like a meet and greet to like feel each other out and see how we would work together and things like that. I remember being on the call with the editor. I had a list of questions and I was asking, and then the very last one I was like, oh, I know like you might not know, but like if you wouldn't mind telling me, when do you think you guys will be taking this book to acquisitions? And I remember the editor looked at me and she was like, oh, acquisitions is happening like right after I get off this call. And I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. Inside again, I was like, code red, code red. So then we hung up and Samantha immediately called me because she wanted to like know how I was feeling about the call and, you know, just discuss things between the two of us. And I was just like, Samantha, what do I do? Like, my book is in acquisitions as we speak. My fate is being decided. And she's like, just breathe. Well, the very next night, March 9th, it was around, it was kind of getting dark. So I feel like it was around like 5 or 6 in the evening. I got an email from Samantha and she was saying acquisitions loved it and that the first publishing house wants to make an offer. I honestly like can't even share with you how I felt in that moment because again, it was just so like, my body was so like, I don't even know. It was almost like, you know, when you have like a panic attack and you have like that derealization thing where nothing feels real and you feel like you're watching yourself in third person. That's exactly how this felt. And I don't know why my body like went into panic attack mode, but it was just because it was a good thing. Like it was like the best news of my life so far. But my body, it was like it couldn't handle the good news so much. It was just like third person separate. But I luckily thought to grab my camera and film telling all of my loved ones. I was so excited and it was amazing. So what all of this caused Samantha to do was that now that we had an offer on the table, we needed to nudge all of the other editors and let them know we had an offer so that if they wanted to offer as well, they needed to get, you know, get snapping. So when Samantha nudged them, that caused 4 editors to step aside, either because they just didn't have time to get to it in their queue or they read it and they were like, I don't think this is for us. 4 said that they were still interested, but they were reading it currently and like they weren't ready to like make an offer yet because they were still in the middle of reading. And then 3 actually said that they were interested and they were taking it to second reads and acquisitions. Samantha told them all that we were planning on closing, meaning like we were gonna make our decision on that Thursday, so that they needed to at least tell us, you know, that it was in acquisitions by Thursday. And then on March 12th, Samantha emailed me and she was like, hey, we have a second offer and this house would love to get on a phone call with you. At this point, my code red had switched on into like code white because I was so like out of it at this point. I couldn't even see colors because this means we were officially in an auction. So when you have more than one publishing house wanting to buy your book, you go into something that is called an auction. And I plan to have a video entirely on the auction process, like kind of breaking it down and then also like how I felt about it, you know, my personal experience. So that video will be coming a bit later, but yeah, just know I was like cloud 9, couldn't believe that this was happening to me like that. I was actually like being a unicorn for the first time in my life. Things like that don't normally happen to me, so it was just very, very exciting. So I talked to that editor, it went wonderful, we really clicked. I loved everything that this house could offer me. And the thing is, when you get in auctions, it's so difficult because every house has something different that they can offer, right? I mean, there were really no bad publishing houses. Like I couldn't make a bad decision. It was just what was the best decision. So yeah, it was really exciting. And then a couple days later we got news a third house was interested and wanted a phone call and wanted to make an offer as well. So I had a phone chat with that editor as well. And at this point it was kind of very, very hard. Like, complete transparency, I never knew at the very beginning which house I was gonna go with. Like, I didn't know I was gonna choose Scholastic, you know, at the time. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that I'm a very like analytical person, so I really wanted to break it down and do the pros and cons and see what happened on auction day. And I didn't want to just be like, oh, I love this editor, so I'm gonna go with them 100%. Like, I really, even though my heart was like, yes, yes, this is the answer, I wanted to be like, you know, kind of like objectively look at it and make the best business decision, you know, for the rest of my career, because this is where I'm debuting. This is a huge thing in publishing, is where you debut and how you debut. And it was basically a decision that would impact the rest of my career and life. So I really weighed the pros and cons a lot. On March 18th, we had the auction. At this point, the 4th publishing house that had gone to acquisitions, we had told them that we were doing the auction on the 18th, and they just never got back to us. So I don't know if that means that I did not pass acquisitions, or maybe they just didn't have time to schedule an acquisitions meeting before the 18th. I don't really know what happened. On March 18th at 12 p.m. I officially went into auction with 3 publishing houses, 2 of which were Big 5 and 1 a major publisher. Obviously the one who won, Scholastic. It was a very difficult and stressful day. I did flip-flop quite often. I think 3 or 4 times I was flip-flopping between 2 houses. There was, out of the 3, there was 2 that I was just like, it's gonna be one of these 2. I did chat with Samantha quite often on the phone throughout that day, and I'm just so grateful that I had such a smart, savvy, businessy agent. Sometimes there are better deals than money when it comes to, you know, trying to make publishing your career. There are better offers than a high advance, and sometimes a high advance can actually be detrimental to you having a very long and healthy publishing career. So she knew that going into it, and that's where the negotiations came in and the chats, and it was just, she's godsend. After a very long day of flip-flopping and phone calls with Samantha and chatting with friends and family, I kind of knew that I had a decision by the end of the night, but I told Samantha that I would feel more comfortable sleeping on it and then giving a decision by 12 p.m. the following day. And she was like, that's totally fine. So she let all the houses know. In the morning at 11 o'clock, an hour before my deadline, Samantha called me and she's like, hey, what are you thinking? And I told her, I'm gonna be a Scholastic author. And again, it was just like, I felt in my bones when I went to bed that night that Scholastic was the correct house for me. I read them in my announcement video, but they sent me blurbs from all of the heads of department in Scholastic, like just how much they loved the book, and it really felt like the entire team was there for me, that they were really excited about it, and it just made me feel incredibly wanted. A few other things that, you know, just really solidified that Scholastic was the house for me was that I just really vibed with the editor. She was wonderful, she was funny, she loved puns, so we just like really talked and joked, and our conversation just had like an easy, light feel to it, which was really nice to know that she was like very professional and could get stuff done, but also like she was there to joke and listen to me if I had, you know, any issues or feelings or whatever. That was just kind of the relationship that I was looking for. She also had very few edits, and the edits she did mention I really vibed with. Scholastic was going to be the ones to publish the book much sooner than the other 2 houses. I'm being published in fall 2022. The other houses were going to have me in spring 2023, and Scholastic specifically mentioned they wanted it in the fall because it is a Halloween book, and that was like very important to them, and I just felt like, yes, I agree. They also, of course, have the book fair, which is a huge thing. Like that can be a huge game changer. I will pop up a little portion of her email that was like, hey, we want to buy this book, where she talks about how much the fairs can do for authors. They also really worked with us with negotiations during the auction, which I found really helpful. There were some houses that were unable to or unwilling to negotiate certain terms, and Scholastic was totally like, we will work with you the best we can, which made me feel really happy. They're also making me a lead title for fall 2022, which is mind-blowing. Let's hope it sticks. But that is just excruciatingly exciting to me. Of course, like, I'm not gonna lie, their monetary offer was the shiniest out of all of them, so I mean that didn't hurt at all. So then it was official. By March 22nd, my editor Tiffany reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to hop on the phone with you just kind of as a meet and greet to get to know you better and to chat more about the book and my editing ideas and things like that. So me, Samantha, and Tiffany all got together and chatted then. And then finally, June 30th, like 4 months later, I got my contract. I did not know, and this is my own personal ignorance, I did not know that it takes so long for publishing contracts to get to you, and so I was thinking, you know, I'd get my contract in like a week or 2. No, that's not how that works. And I guess if you think about it, it makes sense. Like each house can only hire so many contracting people, and every single book that passes through their doors has to get its own contract. And think of how many books Scholastic publishes, especially like little tiny chapter books or picture books. Every single one of those has to get a contract. So I guess it makes sense that it took so long to get it. But I'm very, very happy I did. I'm very happy with my contract. I'm very happy with Samantha and how she negotiated, and Tiffany for being in my corner. And it's official. It's signed. I'm gonna be a Scholastic author. I'm gonna be a Scholastic author. The Glass Witch is gonna be a real book. Like, you guys will be able to buy it one day and read it. Like, what? And it's a 2-book deal. Tobe, hopefully, my odd book, my second middle grade baby. Like, hopefully that's the one they're gonna buy. I did send a pitch of it to Tiffany, my editor, and she really liked it. She was super intrigued by it. I think she said she wanted like the first few chapters, a synopsis, and a pitch of the book. And then I think she takes that to acquisitions and is like, hey, we have a 2-book deal with this author. This is her second book. I just need to go ahead that this is the one we're signing, and then she'll tell me, and then I'll know for sure. You guys, I'll have to keep the secret from you for another like 6 months or something. But it's just really exciting that like 2 books, you'll get to read The Glass Witch and maybe Tobe. So that's it. That's how I got my book deal. It's been a whirlwind. I've gotten to be a unicorn for the first time in my life at anything. And it's happening, guys. Like, it's happening. Can't wait to take you guys along with me the rest of this journey. You guys are like my support system. It's so nice to have you guys along with me as I like stress and freak out about everything. Like, I know you guys will be there in the comments, like being nice to me. So it's really great. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.